Doron, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your, schedule, and I know very busy schedule, and coming and seeing me, and it's great to just catch up with you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super happy to be here. It's awesome that you're, putting this on, and
I
I'm
know
super
I've been
excited
talking
for
about.
it.
I've said this so many times on this podcast, but I've been wanting to do this for, so many years because we've had so many talks, right?
Yeah.
We've had coffees and stuff, and I feel like this is just that. While just we're recording it, just because I feel like obviously we're gonna catch up anyway and have this conversation, but might as well have other people listen for entertainment or whatever and get maybe some value out of it. I know I like listening to podcasts when I'm like driving
course.
or flying, and I'd rather listen to people who think like me because I'm assuming the audience here is more, filmmaker or want to be a filmmaker or a
Right.
successful filmmaker. So anyway, let's get into it. So what have you been up to? It's been it's been a while since we got up. I haven't seen you at any of the filmmaker meetups or anywhere. So where have you been?
Yeah. Well, in our conversations, I'm currently in nursing school right now.
Mhm.
So I've been super busy with that lately. Just trying to grind that out so that way I can focus more of my time on video.
Which is so crazy. Your fields are so stark difference, and we've obviously talked about nursing school so
Yeah.
much. Uh, uh, but you're doing nursing school, which does take a lot of your time, and then you do video as well. How do you even manage time? I mean,
Well, it's pretty difficult. Not
yeah.
not gonna lie. So I also work night shift at the hospital as well. So that's from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So
Wow.
in the midst of doing nursing school, working night shift, and then also doing video on the side, it's definitely a hustle. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but in my particular situation, I just felt like I'm a type of person that really likes security,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying, to not take risks at
Yeah.
all, but definitely, secure something in your life so that
Mm.
way you have something to fall back on,
Yeah.
with whatever it is. And um, that's just kind of how I've
No,
got
that's
to
very
this
safe.
point.
And we
So
obviously had this conversation. I remember a couple of years ago, I believe, and when you were contemplating, all of this, and I'm glad. I think the decision you took is good to do both.
oh yeah,
Obviously, it's
yeah,
difficult, but you're obviously managing it. You're almost there. The thing I want to know is it's very very varied interest. Obviously, video and nursing is very different.
yeah.
So tell me the connection if there is any.
Yeah, well, honestly, I feel like nursing just kind of, came to me. I in high school they had a CNA program there that I took part in, and I was like, you know what, this would be a perfect opportunity. Right out of high school, have
Mhm.
a job,
Mhm.
a decent paying job for what it was, and that's kind of what led me into that path. And then I've been in and out of other jobs as well,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think it was about 6 years ago. I took a trip to the Philippines with my family, and I had been watching some travel videos on YouTube, and I was like, you know what? I want to do that. So I bought my first camera. It was a Sony A6500. And yeah, I brought that with me, shot some stuff. Wasn't the best stuff,
Mhm.
obviously, but yeah, from then on, I kind of just looked for other opportunities to, use that camera. And
Mhm.
that brought me to California. I met somebody out there that was already, uh, head deep in their business as well. So I, rubbed shoulders with them. I did some, gigs with them. And then I came back here to Florida, started to make more connections. And, I kind of just kept on to nursing and to video. And, the goal is once I graduate to use nursing as a supplement to
Mhm.
the video thing. So,
Which is so awesome. By the way, also just and you said a lot in there that we need to touch on, but we got time. So
of
I
course,
want to start back to nursing though,
yeah.
and it's not common, right? For male nurses. So that's already your I guess I don't know, doing something that's not common for male nursing. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. You don't really. I mean, when I go to work, it's mainly females there. But
I mean, is that a good thing? I mean,
I mean, no, it's
yeah.
definitely a female. There's a lot of females that work there,
Yeah.
but um, I don't know. I feel like it's a good place to work.
Maybe let's convert a filmmaker. What would you say? Is it worth it? Is it worth it or no?
I mean, man, if you can make plenty of money off of film, I would say stick to that.
Okay. All right. So don't leave your passion yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
But definitely, if you're wanting something with, like I said before, if you're wanting something that's secure, I mean, I think healthcare is a great,
it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know when people would stop being sick. I don't think ever.
Yeah,
I mean, unless we become robots, but that's another scenario. But yes, you're absolutely right. Healthcare is, I think, one of the most safest, secure jobs you can find, and exactly that's why I want to go back to a couple of years. So here's the conversation I remember. I remember you reaching out, us meeting for coffee, and I remember you thinking, if you wanted to do both or pick one or the other. Tell me what was going through, and I know it's been a while, obviously. What was going through your head, and why did you end up picking the decision that you did now to do both and, divide your time?
Yeah, well, I think at that time, I hadn't started nursing school yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really thinking about, because it was getting to the time for me to start, and I don't know, I just really wanted to make sure I made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
I really take a lot of time in, trying to figure out my life and what's the best for me. And I believe in God. Like, I'm God driven, and I spent a lot of time praying about it too. And it's only 2 years, 2 years of nursing school. Only 2 years of time to
And
sacrifice.
you're very young, so you have time.
Yeah. I'm 27, turned 28 this month, and I was like, you know what? I have no education under my belt. Why don't I just sacrifice the 2 years? And that doesn't mean I can't make, lasting friendships, connections. You and I, we still have
we
kept
worked
in touch.
on projects.
Yeah, exactly. So
you helped me literally in 2024 on a project.
Yeah.
So,
So you know what? I was just like, you know what? Let me just sacrifice the time, and then if I can, there will be times throughout nursing school that I can pick up the occasional job, which I have been able to do. Which honestly has been a blessing, because there's still people that want to work with me, and I'm still making connections with future clients, which has been another blessing. So that's kind of what was going through my head, and I definitely didn't want to let video go. So I wanted to try to keep each occupation in place.
So you think the decision was right?
I think so, and I think when I graduate, I'll be able to see the reasonings behind that come into place. But I think so far it's been working out.
So your goal is, as of right now, and obviously things can change, is life, but is to pursue both. You want to have video business, and you're gonna do nursing and try to manage your time like you have been the last few years.
Yeah. I think definitely I would have to change some things just to because I definitely want video to be superior over everything else, and just use kind of nursing as the backup. So if it is doing part-time as a nurse, I think that would be great. But definitely video, because I've seen, just to be honest, like I've seen video as a more lucrative pursuit. And it's definitely, and it's definitely there's a lot more freedom. I'm working for myself. I'm not having to clock in. I can clock in when I want to. I can make my own schedule, and I'm not having to lean on someone else to give me money. I can make my own money.
Exactly. So. You get to be your own boss.
Exactly.
I mean, technically we have bosses, but they're limited time bosses, right? When you get the client, right? Once you deliver, you're done, unless it's a retainer client.
Definitely.
So that's awesome, man. I love that the spark is still here, and you're continuing to progress with both, and you're happy about it. I don't remember what advice I gave you. I hope it wasn't the wrong one. I remember us having a long conversation, so I don't remember what I said.
We talked about a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. I hope it was this, what you picked. Yeah, I will say at least it was that's what it was. So now that obviously we're here, you're what, one semester left?
1 semester, yeah.
Almost there. So, and then what are you gonna do? You're gonna register your video business like an LLC or whatever, and do you think you already have clients since you've been building up to it?
Yeah, well, honestly, I'm not as I'm not as experienced as most other people in their video business, which
Mhm.
again, I'm grateful for the people that I know
Mhm.
because I can always, reach out to people like you, if I do have questions about, the video business and, they'd be willing to help me out.
Yeah.
But um
Definitely. You I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, of
we have
course.
done that
Yeah,
already. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
of
So,
course, absolutely. And yeah, I think I was thinking about that before coming here, definitely this year. I want to see if I can, register as an LLC. Um I'm not niched yet
mhm.
in any particular thing, which, you know, I I'm trying to get my feet wet in,
Mhm.
many different aspects of video. But yeah, I do have, some weddings lined up, wedding connections, and some other, corporate type
Mhm.
video clients as well.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, making that time
Yeah.
to be able to meet with them and to actually shoot.
Yeah.
So, and again, nursing school and night shift have kind
Mhm.
of, made that not possible right
Yeah,
now.
of
But
course.
hopefully, in the
Yeah, but
foreseeable
you have been
future.
able to find. I still remember it was mid last year, whatever. I still remember I needed you as a cam up. I reached out and I said,
Yeah,
"Hey, this is what I need. Need you to bring in which is rare for me to ask equipment, but I
yeah,
was like, I
yeah,
need you to bring in FX6 and this lens or whatever it was,
right,
and you're gonna operate in a camera for me."
right,
It's like, got it. You came, you killed it like always.
yeah.
So it was great. I mean, that was awesome, and you were able to somehow find time for that. So that was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, in some of those gigs that when people ask me to come help them out, it's typically, like the night before.
Hmm.
Well, the day of, I get off of shift at like 7 a.m. and then I'm crashing for like 3 hours, and then I
Yeah.
wake up and then I head over to the gig. I know that gig that we did with Adam
Yeah.
once to help him out.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it was at 7 a.m. I had gotten off, and then um, I got my stuff together and I
Yeah.
I went over to, his gig. So
That was so cool because I remember him reaching out, and I was like, "Yeah, I would love to come help out." Of course, why wouldn't? And then it's like, "Oh, Doran's gonna be there." Oh, I was like, "Yeah, that's good. Then
yeah.
we got it because I know we can make it happen." But I can't imagine how exhausted you would have
Oh
been.
yeah.
But we
Yeah.
couldn't tell, and that's what matters,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
You're able to push through, which I mean, a lot of video people we can have long days. So
Yeah.
the main thing is that you're able to push through. You're able to not let the crew around you know they or you're basically going down. Um, so that's pretty good. Same thing on my gig. At least I don't know how tired you were. We couldn't tell, which is the key, right? You
Yeah.
came in, like I say, you were friendly, which like you always are, and we recorded the content that we wanted to. We got cool shots. We made
Yeah.
great
Of course.
images.
Sure.
We laughed. We had fun. I mean, that's what it's about, right? I don't know. How's your experience? Do you remember any of that shoot? Because that's the most recent one that I remember.
Yeah. I think. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I think that was a little bit ago. I don't know. Just to kind of go back to
Yeah.
what you were saying. I feel like mindset is a big thing
Hmm.
when, especially, I had typically when I get off shift,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
tired. I mean, that's
Yeah.
12 hours overnight. Your body's
Yeah.
not used
In
to
a
that.
hospital.
In
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
hospital, and anything can happen in
Yeah.
a hospital, right? Um, but yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with like the intention behind the decision
Hmm.
that you make, right?
Yeah.
So, going into that, I already knew I wanted to be
Yeah.
there. It wasn't like anybody was forcing me to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go,
Yeah, of
you
course.
know? But, I knew by going, it would be not only benefit to me, but, benefit to you,
Yeah.
benefit to Adam
Mm.
and anybody else there.
Yeah.
And, I learned a lot from that. I
Mhm.
mean, like, I know you brought some gear with you as
Yeah.
well. And, I learned a few things there.
Mhm.
I learned a few things about, lighting and,
Yeah.
how to use different cameras, and just like how production is actually run by professionals, And I have been on a few gigs,
Thank you for considering us professionals. I mean, no, no.
because I haven't been on, a ton of different sets.
Mhm.
I've been on a handful.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see, people that I look up to.
Yeah.
In action and
By that you
actually,
mean Adam, right?
and actually getting work done.
Yeah,
It's
but to
it's
be
awesome.
real, I mean, with just my sets, I can think of the variety of corporate and commercial sets you've been on. So that set that you're just mentioning was a
Right.
scripted, sets. I would call it more like commercial-esque.
Yeah.
And then you've been on event shoots with me.
Yeah.
Then you have been on, live productions with me, last one that we did. And then on top of that, you've done the typical bread and butter interview and B-roll shoot with me.
Right.
That was just you and me.
Yeah.
So you've done enough variety. I feel like that you should feel like. What do you feel? Do you feel confident enough?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like everyone's a student in this game.
Yeah.
You're always a student. You're always learning something new.
Yeah.
So, I like to say that I feel like I know, a decent amount, but I definitely don't know everything.
Which of these was your favorite, or you would say at least the most you enjoyed type of shoot? I'm saying, not the specific shoot.
And you know what? Like doing my own stuff as well, I've really come to love interviews. I love interviews.
That's good, because you make a lot of money if you can figure out how to do
I love it. Just like the setup's typically pretty quick.
Yeah.
But just like getting to know the other person and asking them questions, I feel like that's, to me, that's kind of like the center of why I do what I do, relationships.
Exactly. You do you remember the one we did?
Yeah.
For one of my really awesome clients, Don, and that was a very good interview that we pulled together. And the B-roll on it too. You killed it. And what I loved about it was there was the challenge. So I was in mid-transition. So I went from Canon to full Sony.
Oh yeah.
And I still remember I had C70s as my A and B cam, but I had an FX3 as a as the gimbal cam.
Yeah, I remember that.
Completely different, way of working. I guess, I mean, the cameras are, similar, but you know what I mean? The menus are different. So you managed, obviously, both of them, and you got some great shots out of it. So that was a very fun shoot. I mean, I think we got to lit it. It was a big room, too, for just the two of us to be lighting it.
Yeah.
So we lit the whole room, we lit the interview, and then obviously we did B-roll after. And again, huge spaces, because she was an event organizer, so we needed to do, bigger spaces, which is not normal for corporate stuff. You're stuck in tiny offices.
Right.
So how was that experience? Do you remember any of that?
Yeah, I think, it was kind of a big spot to light.
Yeah, for especially for corporate, I'm saying typically it's a tiny office, right?
Yeah, and I think you were using this light right here.
Yeah, probably. Yes, this is my go-to light, 600X for Light Dome 150. For anyone wondering what that is, yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I think it was for me it was a good experience. I think you were the one asking the questions, and I was manning both cameras. But I like how you were very you kind of stood back and let things run. Aside from asking the questions, you were like, "Hey, Doron, can you go do this?" Yeah. And of course, I'll do that. And then you kind of just let me do my thing.
Yeah,
and
that's my thing. I like throwing people, and some people may not like my style, but that is my style. I like to just throw people into it and see how they react, what they do. And most people, I find, and tell me if I'm wrong, will pull through, because you wouldn't be in this industry if you weren't willing to learn and and do it. Most of the time, you just don't have access to a light like that big or the dome that big, whatever. But it's the same as a small dome. So if I'm just like, "Hey, Doron, can you set the Light Dome 150 and put the 600X on?" And I'm pretty sure you could figure it out, but I'm also curious, can you figure it out?
Exactly.
So no, I'm so glad you didn't mind that, but that is my style. Because I don't want to baby you. To me, that's more condescending when I'm like, "Let me show you." So you do this, and you're like, "Come on." I mean, whether you know it or not, I don't know. To me, I'd rather wait for you to come and say, "Hey, I did this, but I don't know how to do this," and that's okay. Obviously, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but anyway, so I definitely did that. Yes. So
I appreciate that, honestly, because that's literally the only way for me, at least in my experience, for me to learn. Like you just gotta throw me in there, and I mean,
and these are real life situations. We don't have 5 hours to light. We had 30, 40 minutes, something like that. The typical time. So you have to also get it done and get it done fast.
Yeah, and I think from that shoot, I remember, there was something, I think it was a stand that I hadn't used before, and I didn't know how to, and I felt silly, honestly. I felt silly that I couldn't open the stand. Yeah. But I was like, you know what, let me just ask him. Yeah. Let me just, because the longer I wait to ask him, the longer we are, setting up. Yeah. So I just asked you, you were kind about it. I set it up, and now I know how to set it up for future reference.
Perfect. So that's good. So I wasn't condescending.
No,
I just showed you.
No, it was good.
And that's what I tell people. Look, here's the thing. The best way to learn, In my opinion, you come to 4 shoots with me, you can learn more than any college degree in filmmaking.
Sure.
The truth is, it's different what you do in real life than what you learn in school. Not saying school's bad. I don't want to discount that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, but the only way you're going to learn is by being in it. And I'm totally cool with people knowing some things and not knowing something. That's okay, especially corporate sets. There, we're a little less laid back. We're more laid back than like a movie set or whatever.
Sure.
The main thing for me is just, and you don't do this, but I'm saying anyone listening, just don't like, if you don't know something, just don't start saying in front of a client, because then to us that looks amateur, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't do that. Obviously, it's okay to go to the other person and be like, hey, I don't know, can you show? And most people happy to show you. Obviously, why not? Because that's why we're here, to learn and grow together. And as long as the client just doesn't think we're amateurs, sorry, because then it's like, what? And obviously, you've been very professional about it, which is why we worked together.
Right.
So yeah, just the key would be like, make sure that the client doesn't know. But outside that, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's how you learn. I mean, I don't know. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you know, and it's not the same thing as the setting the stand yourself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can watch a
definitely.
video, but until you lift a stand, you put it together.
Exactly.
It's a whole different experience.
Exactly. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Where you come from. Like, what was your starting point?
My starting point. Oh, that's a good question. So essentially, like I said, I've said this kind of before, but I'm a techie at heart. I'm a nerd, but you know what I mean. Like, I just wanted to, like, literally growing up, and now I can look back and obviously know I was into either video games, like playing PlayStation 2 as a kid, or watching Formula One. That's all I did. So anyway, so I wanted to just play with the latest tech, and the best way I knew then. Then I was growing up in India. There was a tech show on TV, and I was like, well, YouTube wasn't that thing, wasn't even a thing. So I was like, well, if I want to play with tech, I have to go be on that show. So I have to learn how to be a filmmaker. That's just your brain goes.
Right.
And plus we were into video games. So I would just get with friends. We would pick cameras. We had like those tape and DVD style cameras. It's crazy. Anyway, and then we would just go out and make fun movies. And they were bad. They were terrible. Maybe some of them are still on YouTube. But you know what I mean? But we were just going out, having fun, building things, creating content, just talking about it, watching movies. You know what I mean? That was my way of, I guess, getting into the art form. So I was doing it, I guess, before it was cool. Now obviously it's cool to be a filmmaker. Then it wasn't. My parents, my mom's like, "Why you got to be an engineer or a doctor? Something valuable." And I'm like, "Come on, that's not what I want to do." But she understood. So anytime to college, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to do the closest thing I could at that time, which was journalism and mass communication. Not really film, but they had a whole camera and photography and editing element to it. But again, I'd been doing enough that I already knew more than, again, what they taught in that school.
Yeah.
But it gave me an excuse to now play more with cameras and more with editing, more with stuff. Anyway, so that's where I came from. I just came from wanting to talk about tech. Funny enough, that now look back, I could have just done that when YouTube came out. I could have just become a tech YouTuber. But obviously, how much I was into YouTube and film, I just couldn't connect. Right. And funny enough, I went to that tech show. I worked there. I was an intern there for a few months or whatever. And then when I went there, I was like, this is not what I want to do. Because, you have to be in it. Like, here I am. I'm dreaming about doing something all my childhood. And now here I am, a young adult. I don't know, I was 18 maybe. Point is, I was there and I'm like, I'm not happy. This is not what I want to do. I want to be behind the camera, right? I'm like, I want to produce these segments. I want to, because, initially I was like, oh, I'm going to be a host on the show playing with tech. And then you quickly realize the hosts are just reading a script, right?
Yeah.
They're not the ones writing and playing with the tech or whatever. Anyway, so I was like, oh, I want to be behind the scenes. And long story short, I had this neat opportunity here. I came, opened freelance on the side, and rest is history, if that makes sense. So so that's kind of what brought me into filmmaking. But I'm kind of self-taught. I did go to school, but I don't want to give them any credit. I knew more about editing and cameras. Plus, they were teaching it from a news perspective. So so it's funny enough. But funny enough, well, take that back, because we didn't have YouTube things then. The only thing I remember learning from my whole degree that I didn't know was ND filters. So those cameras, broadcast cameras, they had built-in NDs, like some cinema cameras nowadays. So I would ask my professor, I was like, why do I use ND? And I couldn't understand, again, you don't understand shallow depth of, we've just been as friends making movies.
Right.
So I am not like a a filmmaker, and there's no YouTube, there's no tutorial. Well, there is YouTube, but there's no tutorials about filmmaking or anything. Point I'm trying to make is you have to learn all yourself. So I'm going like, okay, now I know how to make movies. I know how to operate cameras. I know how to tell a story. Why do I use an ND filter? So I still remember
Right.
my professor and then they're using the lingo of not what I would teach now anyone how to ND. But anyway, that's the only thing I learned at school was why to use ND to get the shallow
Wow.
depth of field. And then once he taught me, I was like, but why would you do that in news? So my brain could, because news, it's
Yeah.
you don't really are creative.
Right.
So anyway, but now that I know, but that's the only thing I think out of 3-4 years of college I learned
Wow.
was ND filter. But obviously, it was a good opportunity. It was, obviously that I had to go to college. India, it's not an opportunity. Like they don't give you an option not to go to college. So I'm glad I didn't just sit around learning engineering or something that I just wasn't going to be interested in. And again, I'm so glad the journey I've been on. That I'm here. Obviously, I could have taken a lot of different paths. I could have been a newsreader, journalism background.
Yeah.
I could have been on that tech show. I could have started this company a lot earlier. Because, that's the other part of me is like, why didn't I go from freelance to full-time, all in? Because I did that 2018, right? And, but now that I look back, I'm like, no, I needed to be on this journey because I wouldn't have known all that, which is why a lot of people get amazed when I'm like, no, I started this day 3, we had 30 to 50K of sales. And most people go, whoa. But I'm like, but remember, I struggled for years as a freelancer. So I kind of knew what not to do.
Yeah.
But if I had not known that and I had started my company, let's say 2013 or whatever, or 2012, I wouldn't have known anything like what to charge, like how to run business. Then I would have still struggled. And who knows what the story could have been. Anyway, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I got a follow-up question with that. Like, if you could change, your path, like what would you have done differently?
Man, I don't think there's anything I could have done because, like I said, I tried to do what is right, which is what I'm telling on this podcast to people. Just reach out to people where you want to be, right? I try to do that. I made I found all the people around me at the time, and I try to reach out because here's what you need to know, right? Because at that time, remember, YouTube exists. There's ways to learn if you don't have the skill set.
Yeah.
I thought I was already there most of the way to be able to tell a story, but if you don't, you can learn. What you're lacking is the business skills, what to charge, what the deliverables are, how to execute the business side of things, which is far more essential than your craft, right?
Absolutely.
So, and there was no one willing to help. There was a lot of gatekeeping. And by the time I found people who were willing to share, it was years down the road. And then I was like, oh, I'm already doing that. I just had to stumble my way through that. So obviously, ideally, like I said, if I could go in the past, I'd like to have that knowledge up front. But like I said, there was no one, at least around me. It's not like I didn't do the right thing, which was reach out, ask to have a cup of coffee, and just share like what we've done and other people have done. It's just to talk, and then sometimes you learn, or you're like, oh, you're telling me I gotta have a contract, or you're telling me I gotta have a contractors, I gotta go buy this equipment or don't buy this equipment or whatever the case may be. It's, to me, again, it's business knowledge is the number one thing in corporate and commercial video that most people don't have. Because now I know how to, like, I could tomorrow start from scratch and make 6-figure business, right? In video. It's not that hard. It's actually very easy.
Right.
Because it's as long as you have the craft, obviously. And if you don't have the craft, just hire the people. You don't even need to know how to make a video. As long as you go tell the client, right? Oh, I'm going to solve this problem for you. And then you hire the person who can. You still made money.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be hired. Please. Not that that's the point. I don't want to peddle anything on this. That's not the point of this podcast is to hire me. But I'm saying you can hire me. I will gladly come make it. Yeah. You can put your pricing on top of that and make that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway.
I remember that. There was a time that I had come across someone that, I guess they were trying to, I forget what event. There was some event going on and they needed, some live streaming. And I remember I had reached out to you because I was like, hey, listen, I don't do live streaming, but I know you do. Yeah. And you were like, oh, well, how about you quote the price and then you have me on and
make the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to you what you can sell it for.
Exactly.
Now, obviously you don't have to, because I get it. Like you said, it's okay. I've had friends who are just like, I don't want anything to do with this. Because the most of the effort is sales. So they're like, no, just take the lead, which is fine. But I'm saying ideally, that is one way to be a successful business owner. And
Yeah.
funny enough, that's the better way to make money because you have zero investment.
Right.
You just go find the clients, you help solve their problems, then you find other people who can solve that problem. And to be real, I work with different crews all the time because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, if I'm working on a commercial set, I'm going to bring more of my friends or people I know that are on commercial sets. And then, or if I'm doing a corporate set, then I'll bring people who I know can do great on the corporate set. The point I'm trying to make is it's good to have a variety of people in your network, but at the end of the day, it's also important to leverage them. Because the wrong way to do this would be to go, oh, I can charge you $5,000 to make a video, then either don't hire anyone or hire somebody at free or
Yeah.
$50 or $100 for the shoot. And then they obviously are green, they're not there yet, which would be fine if the video is free, but now you charge a client $5,000 and they're not getting their ROI and they're not happy about it. You've just made a bad experience, right? So there's a wrong way to do this too. But the right way, I'm just saying it's easy to make money. You don't even need to know how to do video.
Right.
And I think as artists, and to be real, I'm a camera person first, business person after. I love making films. Like I said, that's how I started.
Yeah.
So, that hurts to say that, but that's the truth. Like that my value as a filmmaker is less than my value as a business owner. I hope that makes sense. And it hurts, and it may be a hard pill to swallow for some. The thing is, if let's say you reach out to me, let's make a hypothetical. You're like, Ripple, I got this client, live streaming client. I want you to come do it. And I'm like, oh, I'm busy or I can't do it. Guess what? You can go in our group or other places and be like, okay, I'm looking for someone to help me with this. And you can find other technicians and other companies to help you with because they'll happily do it because that's what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Versus now it's the opposite. Now now you're like, you have a $20,000 deal that you need to close. Can you go in a group and have someone close it for you? No, especially if they're good enough to be able to close it. Why are they going to do it for you?
Exactly.
Right? That skill set is far more valuable than the technical skill set, and we tend to hyper or over exaggerate our our talents that way. Like the importance of our filmmaking talents. Now that doesn't mean don't work on your craft. Obviously, you got to be able to make good videos.
Yeah.
And know at least what good videos are, because even if you're hiring other people, you have to know how to be able to vet them, right? So anyway, what I'm trying to say is business skills come above filmmaking skills in corporate and commercial video. At least that's how I see it. And it'll be very hard to, I think, find success if you're weighing filmmaking over business, at least in the field that we're talking about.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah,
okay. Does that answer? That's what you kind of think about?
Yeah. No, definitely.
And my whole thing is why I stumbled through. Like I said, I had to find this myself, right? It was just me, because all the people I was bringing were either helping with audio or lighting or editing or whatever, right? I did build a crew immediately. As soon as we were a production company, it wasn't me, it was us, right? But at the same time, I was the business guy, right? I was the only one making executive decisions. And I didn't have anyone to help me. I didn't have anyone to lean on. I didn't have a mentor. I couldn't just go, hey, what should I do now? And now if I can save someone or even help, I'm not saying just listen to me, listen to the people that I'm bringing on this podcast. But if you can just go do it, like I've had people on here who've literally laid out exactly what to do, to find success, then why wouldn't you do it? At that point, it's no longer, oh, it can be done. It's more like, do you want to do it or not? And it's okay if you don't. There's enough ways to make money in this. You could just be a good DP, and you don't have to be a production company, obviously. So there's ways to make money, but there is a ceiling in those because it's day rate times 365.25, right? And that's if you work every single day, and that's hard to do anyway.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to pick what you want to be.
Definitely.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. No, I appreciate you. Your insights on that.
Yeah, I try. I don't know everything, man. Like you said, this is an ever evolving, ever growing industry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning every day, and that's why I have people here. I'm learning. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to catch what Doron learned in the last 2 years, which brings me to what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You're the only guy I know who got high-paying gigs from Upwork. So obviously, I've known about Upwork for a long time. Keep up with all the platforms out there. However, Upwork for me has always been fine, cheap, international, again, no offense to Upwork people, but that's just what Upwork has been used for, finding low-cost international people.
Mm-hmm.
And you somehow were closing decent paying gigs from Upwork. So how did that happen? How did that work? Because that's an avenue somebody else may want to explore.
Yeah. Well, let me start first by saying that like it's all relative, of course, right?
Okay.
You know, what someone might think as, you know, a good paying job, it might be different for someone else. And I
Mhm.
think honestly, especially if you're, you know, in my shoes, someone that's, you know, really just trying to find consistent work. I mean, take anything that comes your way or
Mhm.
anything that you feel like you would, you know, uh be a good addition to.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I was looking for other ways to, you know, have more jobs, right, in video with the time that I had,
Mhm.
and I felt like Upwork was a good way to try that out. So, yeah, I how Upwork works is they give you these things called connects. They're kind of like tokens,
Mhm.
and you obviously have to pay money to purchase more connects, and these connects are what allow you to apply for different
Mhm.
jobs, right? So I bought, you know, a handful of connects, and you know, I started to, you know, apply different jobs in
Mhm.
the local area, so in Orlando, Florida, and yeah, I landed a couple clients on there, and you
And
know
what
they've
was the range?
in terms of like
Yeah,
price.
yeah.
Well, the
Hey, that's
first
what we're all about
yeah
here,
yeah.
numbers.
Well, the first the one of the clients that I had, it was I think it was like a in total plus travel, it was probably like a 4 hour shoot, and it paid like $1,000.
Dude, you're just
Um,
like, it paid just 4 hour shoot,
yeah,
including travel, $1,000. That's pretty good.
yeah, and it was over here in I think it was Jacksonville,
Okay, so
and
not far
it
from
was
us.
an
Yeah,
interview
yeah,
again, and of course a little bit of B-roll, but I didn't have to edit the footage. All I
yeah.
had to do was, you know, I shot the footage and delivered it to the client the same day.
Mhm.
So it was definitely in my eyes it was a successful shoot, and very easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's our bread and butter. So
Yeah,
I would have done it when I started. I mean, $1,000 for interview and B roll, and like you said, even travel, which is crazy considering Jacksonville isn't that close. I mean, it's not
right.
far either. But so you went to Jacksonville, you shot an interview, came home, made $1,000
Yeah.
in less than 4 hours. Not bad,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
bad.
and
And
that's cake. I mean,
yeah,
I love
exactly.
that, you know, and it's
Did you have
definitely
anything else like that? Anything else good?
I think the other gig that I got from there, and I'm still keeping
Yeah.
in contact with them as well. They're kind of a repeat client, hopefully.
Hmm.
But it was like an apartment walkthrough,
Okay.
and I guess that's kind of their model is that they need footage for different apartment
Hmm.
complexes that hire them out,
Yeah.
and so they hire people like us
Hmm.
to come in there, um, you know,
Yeah.
shoot some footage of, you know, different floor
Yeah.
plans, and then there might be somebody there at the apartment complex that introduces the place, and
Hmm.
so you're pretty much just tracking them the
Yeah.
entire day. But yeah,
Which is
that one
crazy. I want to know. I'm curious about that one because typically I find real estate has lower budgets. So let's
it
see. That would be I would call it real estate. So what was the budget on
it
that
did.
one?
I think from there I can't remember the exact
Yeah.
price, but it was somewhere around like 5 to 600.
Yeah. That
So
tracks.
definitely lower budget. But the reason I did it was because I felt like I was, you know, building a good relationship
Yeah.
with the client. And if it means, you know, having a good relationship with the client, like I'm going to keep them,
Yeah. But
right?
even
In
six
my
hundred
circle.
bucks for what, half a day or a day is not bad. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. It was,
gimbal lopping most of the time, right? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I think for the initial gig, I probably spent a little bit more time just because I hadn't worked with them before.
Hmm.
It was something new for me. And I wanted to do a good job because I knew they had several other opportunities
Yeah.
to film, you know, future
Hmm.
gigs, and there's potential, you know, for charging them more
Yeah.
for doing
No,
if they like my work,
absolutely.
you know.
That's great.
So,
That's awesome.
but
So here's what I want to know next. So that's what I find a lot of people who are new or not full time yet that struggle with is the technical aspects of like how do you do contracts if you even do it, and then how do you charge payment? What payment format did you use? All that. Like, what do you typically do? Because you probably don't have all the systems in place, right now.
no.
Obviously. So how did you do that? Did you send them a contract or didn't even bother about it?
You know what? I I probably should have,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, that's okay. I mean, obviously, but it's
but
okay. A lot of people don't when they're part time.
but yeah, I think what did I do for the first client that I had
Mm-hmm.
talked about, the one in Tallahassee? I feel I asked them for a 50% deposit
Mm-hmm.
before I even
Yeah.
started the gig. So I already had some of the money there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they paid me literally immediately after I was done. Once I messaged them and let them know that
How did
hey,
they
I was
pay?
done.
What payment method are you using?
I think they had like a private server that they used. It was something like Zelle or
Okay.
Venmo, but it was a private
Uh-huh.
server that they used. Can't remember exactly
Yeah,
off the
that's
top of my
okay.
head what it was, but
So you didn't have to set up any payment platforms or anything.
and yeah, very simple. The other client that I worked with, I think they paid me again. I think that one was specifically through Zelle that they paid me for. Now I know there are better ways of going about that, and there's definitely you kind of have to cover your butt in certain situations. But
no, and that's okay. That's why I was curious to ask so people know, like how somebody who's not full time is doing it. Obviously, my suggestion would be to set up your processes. But
Absolutely.
again, if you're new or you're not doing this full time, maybe you don't and you don't have time for it. So that's okay. And anything else that came out of it, or that was it for now?
That's it for now. I actually, it's funny that we're talking about it now. I've actually had some communications with them, and hopefully, we'll see. But hopefully, we can set something up this month with them.
Look at that. You're finding repeat clients
trying
from
to.
Upwork of all places.
Yeah. So
see, that's what I'm saying. Opportunity is just out everywhere. Because I wouldn't think you would be able to get $600,000. Like I said, that's pretty decent money. And especially like I said, there's no editing or any of that. And you've been able to find these opportunities. So they exist everywhere. People just have to go look, and there's no sales even technically in these because they're already looking for it. Right. You don't have to do any of the traditional stuff. You don't have to run ads. You don't have to do that. Obviously, you have to be able to showcase that you can do it, which I want to know. So what did you do? Like the first one, especially the interview, did they ask you for any examples or anything? How did you did you have to do anything to gain their confidence?
Yeah. So pretty much when you apply for a specific job on Upwork, there's a section there where you can pretty much sell yourself. You can talk about yourself, right? And what you're expert in. So what I did is I kind of have a template written up in my notes that kind of outlines the same thing, like a little bit about my gear, what I typically shoot with, and then I put a link to my website, a link to my Instagram, because that's where some of my work is that I've shot previously, and and then I put my my rate there as well, if it's within their budget. And I think the first client, the one in Tallahassee, he clicked on my website. I have a demo reel that definitely needs to be updated now. But he saw it and he was like, "Oh, that's perfect."
Okay.
And I was like,
"That's good."
Great. So I was like, "Wow." So demo reels actually do work, and it's not the best reel out there, but the fact that he saw the reel, he saw what I was able to do, and he made the decision to go with me.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that worked out for you, and that you put the effort to put the website and the demo reel and all that together. But I think it's just all about putting yourself out there, right? Because like I said, I've been doing this a decent amount of time. I wouldn't have thought about going to Upwork for finding video business, but look, you did. You thought something, and to be real, I've had so many people. I don't think a single one of us went to Upwork,
Right.
which is what made you think different, right? And go do that. Any other platforms you tried that didn't work? Or no, that was just the one.
I honestly, that's kind of been the main one that I've used. I know there's plenty of other ones out there. There's Production Hub. I know several creators use. That's kind of a popular one.
Yeah, that's a popular.
I just haven't touched on that yet. And then I know there's one called Staff Me Up, and it's kind of the same formula.
Yeah.
But I just really haven't dove into those different avenues. But Upwork, it seems to be, it's very user friendly, and
I mean, it's good. And like you said, it's not like you're only just trying that. You've set up your website, you've set up your reel, you have your Instagram. So it doesn't hurt to go try some of these platforms and see if it works. because it clearly can work. Obviously we know Production Hub works.
Mhm.
It just has more competition. So I would say if you're starting out, why not go to these websites where there's less people on there, less production companies? Because like I said, I don't think I'm there. So you may be able to find these opportunities. And I think when you're starting out, being able to get an interview, B-roll, some of these for $1,000, $600, that's not actually bad at all.
Right.
That's a very good day rate. And then you can build connections, maybe do repeat business, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the key there. I think it's, starting out.
Yeah.
It's definitely not sustainable by any
Yeah.
means, but it's definitely, if you're looking to, experience new things, because there are several different types of genres of jobs out there that you can
Mhm.
select from, which is kind of cool. So if there's
Mhm.
something that you find interest in, I mean, you can apply anyway and see where it takes you. But if you're really just trying to get the jobs lined up, you can buy those connects and just literally apply to any job that you want while you're on there.
That's
So
pretty
it's
cool.
really
And you also have a kind of thing that you're interested in, right? I think you wanted to do more fitness content. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Are you still leaning towards that, or
Yeah, I mean, I'm physically active. Like
what are you trying to say?
I'm at the gym,
Yeah.
like 5 times
Yeah.
a week. I try to be, and it's just something that I feel like that's what you have to do, right?
Mhm.
Like if there's an interest that you have, try to make a video out of it. You
Yeah,
know what
no,
I mean?
exactly,
And
yeah.
it's I haven't made. I think I've had one client in the past where they had a gym. It was like a one-on-one gym.
Mhm.
And I did a couple videos with them, and it was
Mhm.
kind of cool to be able to do that. I would like to do more of that,
Mhm.
but I would also like to do a lot of other things as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's my niche right now.
Mhm.
But it's definitely something I really do have fun with. So,
Awesome.
but,
So where do you see going next? Like, is there any gear that? Well, actually, no. Let's step back. I know you mentioned your gear list. What gear are you using right now?
so right now I have the FX6 that I use primarily. I still have so I upgraded from an A7 III, Sony
Mhm.
A7 III, which is kind of a dinosaur now, but I still use it for certain projects.
Mhm.
It's still able to, get some good images. Um, and then I have um, I just bought some Amaron, what is it, the 60S, those
Oh,
small
yeah,
lights.
huh?
I love them, man.
For real.
I just shot a wedding a few weeks ago, and it was my first time using those lights.
I
And
mean, they sound good. Yeah, they'll probably be very good for weddings.
oh man, what a
Yeah.
game changer! So fast to throw up,
Yeah.
and it just changes the way your video looks. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just amazing. But yeah, and then I have. I mean, the FX6, you're able to run audio straight from the
Mhm.
FX6. So I typically just use my, I think it's like a Rode NG T3,
Mhm. Yeah.
whatever.
NTG3.
And it
Yeah, it's a
sounds
good
great.
mic. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I just have the essentials.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
Your typical
Um,
kit as a videographer, DP. So you have a FX6, NTG3s, your
Yep.
primary audio. Sounds like some Amaran lights now. That's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, and then I have a aperture. I think it's the 300X.
Okay.
It's like bicolor.
Mhm.
And that's like my primary key
That's a pretty
light.
good key light. Yeah.
And it's small enough, it's nimble enough to be able to work with. And
Yeah.
um,
I have one of those. I love those. So they're
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. So
That's
that's kind of
awesome.
my main
Yeah.
setup right now. So I definitely for a couple of these weddings that I've done in the past, I've used the FX3
Mhm.
in conjunction with the FX6, and I gotta say I love the FX3. It is
Yeah.
so quick. You could throw it on a gimbal,
Mhm.
and it produces pretty close to the same image as
Yeah.
the FX6.
Now,
So,
currently, my favorite gimbal camera is the FX3. I have two of those, and man, they work all the time,
they're
especially
great.
events.
They're great.
I mean,
man.
you've used one.
They're awesome.
So with me at least, and you throw them on, like I said, two gimbals. You have two operators. You can cover most events, and
Yep.
and that's what I love about them. At the end of the day, again, they're money makers, right? They make good amount of money because
Yeah,
they can be
yeah.
used. They're very versatile. Now, I wouldn't use them for interviews. Again, you can. Not that you couldn't. It's just, again, FX6 I think fit better in that formula or in that format. But that's pretty cool. Any new gear that you plan on acquiring or you need to, or
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't actually own the FX3 right now. Typically for those gigs, I reach out to a buddy of mine that, he's more than willing to just let me use it.
Oh, perfect.
And then sometimes I rent it as well. But in the foreseeable future, definitely the FX3, and I feel like
that's pretty good kit though. FX6
Yeah.
A cam, FX3 B cam. I think that's a very good.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect match. And honestly, I feel like with that camera, I feel like the ease of shooting would definitely be in my hands with the FX3.
That's awesome.
So
Sounds like you've been shooting a decent amount of weddings too now. How do you compare that to corporate work? Because I don't shoot weddings. So how would you compare that to corporate and commercial work versus weddings?
Yeah, I think with weddings, it's nice that you already know what to expect. Typically every wedding's the same. I mean, it's
hey, maybe not the Indian one. Have you done an Indian wedding?
No,
Not
but
yet.
hey,
Okay.
if there's anybody that needs one, let me know. But yeah, definitely, it's typically carved out to be the same day. If it is just a normal wedding, it's typically 10 to max 10 hours. And you're definitely running the entire time if you're shooting it yourself, which I did in this last wedding, and honestly, it was one of the best weddings that I've shot in my personal opinion. But yeah, it's definitely fast paced. You got to be on your toes, and you gotta put your best foot forward and make sure that you keep up with the schedule. Because if you're not ahead of the schedule, then you're gonna lose out on some important shots. And I feel like that's in any type of gig that you do. You just got to be on your,
especially something like a wedding where you can't go back and recreate it. You have to, which is why I'm like, I can't imagine the pressure. Obviously, not that other field type corporate stuff doesn't have pressure, but at least we can maybe try again.
Right.
With weddings, there's no try again. And so which one do you prefer? Do you have you picked any preference or no? I mean,
honestly, I want to shoot more weddings this year.
Oh, really?
And
seems like you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I feel like going into a wedding, you kind of already know what to expect, which I like because there definitely are surprises on wedding days. And for any videographer out there that shoots weddings, they know what that's like. But I like the fact that the pay is nice.
Yeah.
Right.
So are you doing this as a second shooter with someone, or are you actually doing the wedding?
I've done some second shooting before, but
so you're taking the wedding gig. Yeah, the wedding you can charge a lot. I mean, I find that there's no rules like corporate stuff. I've seen crazy numbers.
Yeah.
What range are you in right now? What are your range you're trying to be in or hit, I guess?
Yeah, this year I kind of want to aim, I don't know, anywhere between like the 5 to 7
that's pretty
range. Good. I know there are plenty of other ranges out there which are astronomical.
Yeah.
But and that's great. But for me, right where I'm at right now, I feel like the 5 to 7K range is kind of a good range for me right now.
No, that's pretty good. And the costs are low on a wedding. That's what I like. So all you have to bring is a second shooter, and that's about it. And maybe editing, that's your cost. And if you edit yourself, maybe you can even save that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I know some people out there that are doing weddings by themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of inspired me to do this last wedding by myself. And honestly, I was like, why haven't I done this sooner? Because in previous weddings that have been my gigs, I've brought some second shooters out there, which obviously I'm more than willing to, give a job out to somebody, if it's needed. Right. But I realized in that shoot that, I really don't need a second person to be here with me. I can maximize my return and shoot this myself.
Do you think there's enough, you can get enough coverage just yourself that you don't need a second shooter?
Yeah. I definitely think, you're definitely working a lot harder because it's just you, and you're having to, run to different areas to get the right shots that you need. And that's what that's what I mean by you know what to expect when going into a wedding, because
Mhm.
you kind of already know in your head, as long as you know the outline of the wedding,
Mhm.
um, you kind of already know what shots you need to get,
Yeah.
right? So it's already cut out for you,
Mhm.
unless if if the couple wants something specific,
Yeah.
right? Um, but that's what's kind of nice, and I feel like there's a lot of wedding videographers here in the Orlando area that
Mhm.
are just crushing it
Yeah.
because
No, I mean, this is a huge market. A lot of
yeah,
people even travel here, right? For wedding. Destination wedding is a thing,
right.
and a lot of people like to come here. So yeah, this is a huge market to be in. Do you see
Yeah.
Orlando as a long term home? Do you want to like stay
Yeah,
here?
yeah, probably, especially with, everything with nursing
Yeah.
and,
Because I remember you mentioned earlier, being in California for a little bit. How was that compared to out here?
yeah, yeah, I was out there for a little over a year.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't live there, me personally.
Yeah.
It's too chaotic out there, but,
What
um,
part of California?
I was in Anaheim for a little
Okay.
bit, and then I moved over to
Oh
North
my
Hollywood
goodness, from
Film.
one Disney town to the other Disney town. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I think it's great to build connections out
yeah.
there, though.
No,
There's
absolutely. I'm literally about to fly there in a couple of days
Oh,
to
no
San
way.
Diego.
Right on, man.
So yeah, I mean, there is a lot more work. But so I mean, I'm always in California, but I also find it crazy when you go to stores, especially in LA where everything's freaking locked up. It's like, what is
Oh,
going
yeah.
on here?
Yeah,
And it's kind of nuts.
it's like a different world
Yeah,
out there,
I can't
honestly.
imagine living in a place like that. But hey, I mean, people do obviously. But there is more work. Obviously, there's a lot going on there comparatively to Orlando. Obviously, we have a decent indie scene, but that's about it.
Mhm.
And obviously tons of corporate and commercial and conference work that we do, but not that much like anything beyond that going on here. But that's good. That's a good
Yeah, man.
comparison. Yeah, awesome. All right. So tell me more about. I want to know more about like your wedding filmmaking. How have you been getting these gigs? How are you finding brides?
Yeah, well, honestly, right now it's been word of mouth,
Hmm.
really. And at this last wedding I was shooting, it was for a good friend of mine, and what's kind of nice is that the friend group that he has, who are also my friends as well, most of them aren't married yet. So
Mm,
I mean, right there,
like, look at
that's
that.
they know who to go to
Yeah.
for their wedding film, and that's what's awesome about weddings is that once you start to shoot, one, two, three, four, five weddings, you're bound to get more people to reach out to you
Yeah.
by word of
Because.
mouth.
Yeah.
Another way that I plan on this year getting more wedding gigs is via the photographers, right? The
Hmm.
photographers that you work
Yeah.
with, because they have a lot of clients
Hmm.
as well, and what they're able to do is they're able to bring on a videographer and charge more,
Yeah.
but again, that's another
No, that's
opportunity to shoot
that's
a
a
wedding, you know
perfect
what I mean?
opportunity.
So
Photo and video working together at a wedding, man.
yeah,
That's incredible. And like you said, so your clients are right there. It's the singles at the wedding, the
right, right.
the photographers at the wedding, and so if you network again, power of networking, you can find more and more work. That's awesome. So you said you want to primarily, at least this year, focus on weddings.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Again, I honestly don't know what my niche is yet.
Hmm.
But I definitely want to, I have a goal number, of around 10 to 15 weddings this year.
That's pretty good weddings. Hey, you're doing nursing and a job at a hospital
Yeah, yeah.
and 10 to 15 weddings. I
I'm
mean,
I'm hoping so.
yeah.
Definitely nothing's carved out yet, but I
Hmm.
feel like that's for the year. If I
Yeah.
can close out on 10 weddings for this year, I feel like
Yeah.
that would be a good number for
No,
me.
that's pretty good. Even on 5 grand, I mean, that just is low for a
Yeah,
wedding.
right,
That's 50 grand right there, and that's
right,
just a side gig now,
right,
right? So that's
right.
hey, video can be a good side gig. I mean, I'm all for obviously. My thing is just go dive in, but you don't
Yeah,
have to because I mean, if I made 50 grand on the side and had a stable job like nursing, I mean, uh, you
right.
seeming like you figured this out. I mean, at this point,
I mean, honestly, man, it's I'm taking baby steps. I'm taking
yeah,
one step at a time. Who knows, what happens, a month from now.
yeah,
Who knows what opportunities, lie ahead of me and lie ahead of
hmm,
you.
yeah,
But, I think that's the whole point of videography. You just kind of have to be open to anything.
hmm,
And you know, you're gonna find stuff that you don't like. You're gonna
yeah.
find stuff that you do like. And,
What do you not like?
oh man. Um, that's a great question. man.
You said it. I just want to know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, obviously you're gonna have the difficult client, right? I kind of my main thing that I live by is
Mm-hmm.
just being a good person,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sad to see when you try to do all that you can
Mm-hmm.
for certain clients and they just don't see it,
Yeah.
and yeah, I make mistakes, right? We
Mm-hmm.
all make mistakes,
Yeah.
but um, you know, I try to let my clients know that when I do make a mistake that, I do my part to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
um, that I solve it,
Yeah.
and that I make amends for it and that I do,
Yeah. You're
but
human, obviously.
exactly. Right. And, yeah, it's just kind of sad,
You have
when
any client story that you can share with us? You don't have to tell us their name or whatever.
yeah. Let me think on that. Um, hmm.
Difficult client.
Yeah, man. Um, yeah, you know what? There was this one client that I was working with, and um, I think for him in particular, I really wanted to shoot with him
Mm-hmm.
because it was a bigger company,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know what? For this first shoot, I'll do for free, right?
Okay.
I'll just and sometimes that's not the best thing to do, and
Yeah.
sometimes that's
Yeah.
that's the perfect thing to do. And yeah, I did a shoot for free. It was a great shoot. Loved the video. And then we sat down and we started talking about, what he wanted, in the coming months.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is something else that, one of my goals this year is to really focus on pre-production.
Yeah.
Because the more you solve in pre-production, the less hassle you have to deal with later,
Yeah.
because you have everything
Plus, you
figured
make
out.
better content because you have already figured it out.
Exactly. And you kind of, go over all the hurdles that
Mm-hmm.
come with no
Mm-hmm.
pre-production,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, we were kind of going over that, and I showed up again, did some more shoots, but and this is where I messed up because I
Mhm.
did another free shoot for him,
Oh, so you kept doing free shoots.
right? And because I felt like, okay, well, these are pretty simple shoots.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
simple. I mean, they were short, 20-second reels,
Mhm.
whatever. And we had I think we had something else lined up where
Mhm.
I had a quote lined up for it. But I produced these videos and I produced them pretty quick.
Yeah.
And man, I sent the videos and I got like the longest text, which just, hey, well, this isn't how I like it. I don't like it like this. Why is it like this? And what's interesting is that I made it based off of their previous content that they've already been producing, because I didn't want to take anything away from their vision, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, and of course I handled it professionally,
Yeah.
and I responded with, well, hey, the reason why this is like this is because of this, but yeah, it was very, there was a lot of critique, almost a little bit too much
Yeah,
critique.
especially for free. I mean, I get it if they're paying
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and it was down to the T of like, well, hey, this just abruptly cuts to the next
Mhm.
shot, and I'm like, well, in your
Yeah.
content, it cuts abruptly to the next shot as
Yeah.
well. So I mean, it's just, and this guy's a cool guy. He's very
Yeah, yeah.
successful, and I mean no harm in what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say, but yeah, it's just stuff like that, and I
yeah,
feel like,
and that's why it's important to mesh with the clients, because let's be real. I'm not saying any client's just bad that nobody will fit with them, but not everyone is your client, right? My clients are, my clients for a reason, and you may find clients that you like to work with. They're your clients. There's enough clients to go around for everyone. And the truth is, because different business owners are different and they have different visions, and so you just have to find somebody who you align with, right? And sometimes you just end up with the client that
Right.
your visions just don't align, and that doesn't mean you did a bad job or they did a bad job. It's just you're just not the right fit.
Exactly.
Which is why I'm all for about qualifying clients. So one of the things, which can be hard sometimes, I always like to be like, do you have anything you can send me, any video? Because, they're reaching out, we want to make a video or whatever. I'm like, is there anything I can see of what you want to make? It doesn't have to be yours. Go to Google or YouTube or whatever, find me a video. And sometimes they'll have it. They're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. This is what my inspiration is. Or like I had a client recently, they wanted to make a reel, right, to get more work. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, this reel's great. We can make this. But
Right.
for this, we would have to follow you for months, get enough content. Because, what you have sent me is cell phone footage. Can we edit it? Can we make it look good? Can we tell a story? Absolutely. Because, we can build story from multiple cell phone videos. But is it going to now start looking automatically like it was filmed by me or you or anyone professional? No, it's cell phone footage. Right? At the end of the day, maybe we can mask it with photos or something on top of it or some graphics. Right? There's ways around it, but we cannot make it look like the example. But if I would have never known that had I not asked for the example, because had
Yeah.
I just gotten the footage, hey, make a reel from this, and I was like, okay, we can absolutely do that. So I think sometimes it's important, and then you start to talk, and then you find out, and they're like, oh, we have this bigger contract we can give you where you can capture the other side of it. So it's like A is just making them understand, but the other side of it was like, hey, there's this bigger contract coming up where we can give you from my company or whatever, where then you can come record me, all these times anyway, and then saves me costs from having to pay you to film me, or we don't have to make this low quality content now. I
Right,
hope that makes
right.
sense. So, but that conversation wouldn't have happened had I just said yes to what they wanted to do, right?
Exactly,
So it
exactly.
became from a simple editing job to like setting the expectations to, oh, this could be worth a lot of money because this could be a huge contract. Would have never known until I brought up like, look, this is what you want, and the footage you're sending me doesn't match. And that's the type of conversations you have to have. But once you set realistic expectations, I'd rather do it now than later because, like you said, if you make content and then they go, I don't like it. Now what?
Exactly, exactly.
Especially if free, they should just be grateful. And then again, we can talk more about free work. I would love to, but what I'm saying is, but if it's paid, that's a different thing, right? Then you better be,
Of course.
on the same
Of
page.
course.
And I'm not saying it's you; they
Yeah.
have to be on the same page.
course.
They should pick person making their content that is aligned with their vision, I guess.
Right.
So anyway, coming to free work, obviously, I'm my views on that are very polarizing, right? In one day, I'm like, yeah, if you don't have the skill set, you have to work for free. You have to get those skills because that's very important to be able to make good content. But on the other side, it can be exploited. Where you go and make
Right.
so many reels, and they're like, "Oh, do all these revisions," and you're like,
Exactly.
"Dude, I'm doing this for free."
Exactly.
So where do you stand, and what's your views on working for free?
Well, so yeah, I think you got to be very careful with who you decide to work for free.
Mhm.
When you decide to work for free. But like I said at the beginning, this is a client that I saw would be a cool client to add to my portfolio. And which, let me add this, that client found me via Upwork.
Oh,
So this was an
Another-
application,
yeah.
that I sent out, several months ago, at the time.
Yeah.
And I randomly got a message on my phone, right? Like, hey, we have this project, we want you to be a part of it, blah, blah, blah. And, I responded and I saw what they were about and I was like, man, I want to be a part of that. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be there. So, just being, I hadn't met them before. I had a brief phone call with them, but I wanted to see them in person. I prefer, face-to-face interactions. And so, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll just come by your shop and, we'll talk. And if you want, I can shoot like a quick 30-second promo for you guys while I'm there. Something super simple. Obviously I try to keep my time within like an hour. So I'm not, cutting into, any of my own time.
Yeah, which you're already busy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I went there and, shot him something quick and had fun with it. And, I may have not gotten paid for it, but I still have something that I could add to my reel.
Yeah.
Right. So
And something you wanted to make. Because seems
exactly.
like you were immediately like, I want to be part of this. I want to make this content.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And who knows, in the future, if that, free work that you did may
Mhm.
find another client that really likes it,
Yeah.
and wants something like that,
Mhm.
so
Plus, I like the dynamic and see exactly what I like. This one wasn't them saying initially like come work for free. You were like, hey, while I'm there, I would love to come meet you, and I can make you a quick 30-second reel within
right,
that hour that I'm there.
exactly.
And that dynamic is different. They're not saying come make free stuff for us.
Yeah, that would be a
You
different
yeah
story for sure.
yeah exactly. Here you are, you're saying hey, and then that's okay because they get something out of it for letting you do that. But then now you get something out of it because now you're learning the skills and b a product that you can maybe potentially put in your reel or show other clients in the same industry. So then I think it's more of a win-win situation, right?
Yeah, definitely. Again, I don't recommend that for every client, that you get out there to just do a free reel for them. But
Yeah,
in
please don't do
certain
that.
yeah, in certain cases, definitely, like by all means, especially if obviously if you can afford it, like
Yeah.
go
And
ahead and do
especially if
it.
you're starting out, I think
That too. Yes.
obviously, like we were talking about, obviously your sales skills are more important than your work skills. But if you're not there where you can be providing that service, because let's be real, eventually the way you succeed is by collaboration, by bringing crews or whatever, or other your friends or working with them. But in the beginning, when it's just you, right,
Mhm.
and that's where the budget is, and that's the type of clients you're working, you have to have your skill set somewhere where you can at least match. Again, it doesn't need to be that great, but if you're charging $500 or $600 or $1,000, it needs to match. That's still a lot of money. So
Mhm.
your skills, and if they're not there yet, then that's the best way to learn because you can go obviously meet other filmmakers in the area, but to test it out, go make some contacts, find the type of businesses you want to work with, and it's okay to go make them some content, but only so you can improve your skill set. Obviously, they get something free out of it. Don't waste their time, but
Exactly.
don't let them take advantage of you either,
Right.
right? Don't keep going back. Is that what ended up happening? You just kept keep going back, or
Yeah. So eventually,
it sounded like they lured you in for the promise of paid job. Did you ever get paid?
nope, nope, and that's why unfortunately, that's why I kind of had to kind of split ways from
Yeah.
them. Which I mean, it happens,
Did you
right?
fix it at least when all that text came, or you said no?
Well, I provided the reasonings behind,
Yeah.
why this was shot the way it was, why it was edited the way it
Yeah.
was, and yeah,
That was it.
that was it.
Okay.
That was it. That I think they were like, oh, let's hold off on this type of content and we'll stick to something else. And
Okay, which is great.
I was like,
Okay.
okay. I mean, that's
I mean,
cool,
no
but
hard feelings though, because at the
Yeah.
end you were providing a free service. They were getting it for free, so
yeah,
nobody lost any ROI or anything out of
Right,
it. So
exactly.
and plus you learned anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe to me the best thing there would be just in the future setting up expectations or whatever. Because I
Exactly.
mean, it's not like
Exactly.
you were making the right content that maybe their expectations were not correct.
And that's why I brought up at the beginning,
Yeah.
like pre-production is so essential, especially with your clients.
Mhm.
Like, get those expectations on the table.
Yeah.
That way both of you are on the same page. And then moving forward, if there is anything outside of that, well, you guys can conquer
Yeah.
that when you get there.
Yeah, plus it doesn't even have to be something extensive. It's not like I get it if it's a commercial or whatever, you have to set mood boards or whatever
Right.
and shot list and all that. But if it's just a corporate video, just a simple, what I do is obviously, we don't do that much work. We'll obviously find the solution, find the problem, offer the solution, offer the, once we have an offer and a price, let them, sign the proposal and make a payment. Once they do that, I'll set up like a pre-production call with them. And so essentially most of the pre-production is just that, right? Like same thing, like figuring out what is the goals, example videos, so we can kind of reference the quality they're looking for. Because if their example is not that high quality, then okay, I know the quality they're going for. Or it's the same thing, like if they're showing you a commercial from Coke or Pepsi or whatever, you're like, okay, we need to manage expectation. Ideally, you do this before they pay,
Mhm.
but you see what I'm saying? Like either way,
Yeah.
pre-production can be very helpful in just figuring out, those details of music and branding, brand guidelines, logos, logo placement, and the overall, energy. Anyway, the look and feel, whatever they're going for, and it's just usually a simple 1 hour phone call or
Yeah.
Zoom meeting, right? It's just you're just
Yeah.
asking simple questions, like, "Hey, can you send me a brand guideline? What do you think about this?" And you can usually even find questionnaires like this corporate video, I don't know, pre-production meeting notes or whatever. And there's so many apps out there, man, like Milanote or whatever that you can
that's
use, even
great.
just
I love
normal
that.
notes app to make them take those notes down. And it can just be so easy a step. Plus, it also makes them like you care, obviously,
Exactly.
right? Because you actually care. And then once you have the expectations right, and what I'll do, like so, the biggest thing I love doing is showing them something visually. It's funny, I'm the opposite. I'm like, hey, none of my talk about reels. None of my clients care about reels and testimonials or anything because they're usually warm leads. They
Mhm.
already want to work with me when they come to me. But on
Right.
the other side, I want to show them video because I'm like, let me find you a video that I made. Hopefully, I've worked with enough industries at this point. I can tap into my resources and find them a video at that budget and type of video. The only difficulty when it happens is sometimes it's like a commercial for, I don't know, let's say a product, right? And their budget is $5,000, but the only one I have is for 30 grand. Now it becomes hard. I'm like, look, I could show you a product commercial, but this is not the price point you're looking at, just so you know I can work in the industry. But this is a commercial that was done at this range. But I love for them to see something, and then I like to get their vision, like, hey, does this look like something you're looking for?
Mm.
And then usually get either a yes or a no. And if you know, then now we need to continue doing pre-production. But usually, as long as you listen correctly, you'll get. And it doesn't even have to be yours. I've done that sometimes. So I've had like shoots that are not common for me, like dance or underwater stuff that is not common for
Right.
what I do. And then it's okay to even go and ask your colleagues. I've gone on our chat or other networking groups. I'm like, hey, anyone done this type of shoot? And you know what? It makes the best part of it, at least for me, they're gonna
Mhm.
make money because they don't know I'm gonna hire them. So I'm like, show me the video because I don't want to lie to my clients. I'm like, hey, here's one of my colleagues. Here's what we've done, right? And then if they like it, obviously, if that's what they say, yes, then I'm gonna go back to the guy who shared. I was like, so now your experience with this, do you want to come on the set and help me out? Because I don't want to lie to my clients. I don't want to be like, this is my work, right? And I
Right.
did it. But
Yeah.
but worst case, I'm saying even this, I've gone to YouTube and I've been like, look, this is not my video, but here's what I found on YouTube. Is that what you like? Point I'm trying to get to is find something close to it, or at least the budget level. Get that that nod of affirmation like yes, because I can't imagine going through the whole production, especially a reel is still easier, but I'm like a bigger like talking head, like interview, b-roll, all that, you putting it together and them going, that's not the look and feel
Right.
we were going for.
Right.
That would not make me happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely.
so, but these are the type of lessons. Now is the time to learn, right? Not later.
Certainly.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm glad. Hopefully, people who are listening wouldn't make that mistake now that they're listening to us. Look, we've all made mistakes.
True.
One of the common ones that I've talked about. One of my first shoot where somebody was like, "Oh, I'll give you, I don't know, a few $1,000, whatever, to go record this band," and I'm like, "What? You're telling me I'm gonna get a private performance from this band?" Because remember, they're pretending like they're singing for someone, but there's no one there.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes this whole band is just gonna sing for me, and I just have to make them a reel so they can get more gigs, right? That's the type of thing. So I'm like, okay, perfect, you got it, and plus I'm getting paid for this. It was like 4 or 5 songs or whatever. So
Yeah.
I set up
Yeah.
a bunch of cameras. I recorded it, and the next thing I know, I'm like, this is gonna be a piece of cake. Multicam on Final Cut because I'm editing these myself. Then I could press a bunch of buttons. How I don't know if you've done multicam on Final Cut. Very easy. You can switch between A, B, C camera.
Mhm.
Anyway, point is,
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this because I'm like, I'm getting a free freaking performance just for me. I'm recording. I'm getting paid to do this. I'm in a cool studio. Anyway, I do shoot went great. Nothing wrong. And sometimes when it's like going too good, something is wrong.
Right.
So I recorded it, and then anyway, I came home, and then it's like nothing would line up. And I'm like,
no.
you would think you can. Oh, people say, oh, waveforms, but some glitch was happening. Point is, it wouldn't line up. So I would line this waveform up, it wouldn't line at the end. Nightmare. And it was 5-6 cameras, so it wasn't.
Oh,
it was not
man.
2 cameras, and there was cuts because I also was using a gimbal, so it's not like one take, dude. It went from being a fun gig to 4 days later, and most of it was just that lining up the song because then I could just cut it through like it's a multicam. That's easy.
Right.
It wouldn't line up,
Oh my goodness.
and I don't know what the glitch was. Anyway, The point is, so we've all screwed up. And literally, first thing I did after that gig, obviously I did it. I made
Yeah. So what happened? I'm curious.
nothing. I just worked my butt off for days and days and days and days and days to edit that crap.
Wow.
Which would have been very easy because, like I said, I spent hours and hours lining up because I would have to do. What ended up happening was I would just cut the clips, the long ones. So some glitch was happening. I don't know. Obviously, it was years and years ago. Point is, all I had to do ultimately was just make sure it lined up, whatever I had to do. Sometimes, and it was by a frame. Normally, I wouldn't care. I just want you to know, on a talking head, you can get away with the frame. But this is music. Like, you can see when the drum is hitting. You know, it's a band, the thing, and the sound needs to come from that. Like, they're trying to get gigs here. This isn't. Anyway, point is, so yeah, I had to like cut and, you know, move by frames here, frame here, and then it would line up. Then it's like go to another camera, do that. And once obviously I lined up the song, same thing, very easy, go to multicam and just switch. That part wasn't the hard part. Point is, something that I thought was going to be a few hours ended up being days, like I said, maybe even a week. And at that point, that, you know, I had told them like I would only do like the 4 or 5 songs, whatever. Initially, I'd been like, oh, I'll just go above and beyond, give them all the songs that we're recording. No, I was like, no, I didn't even mention that. I was like, nope, this is all you get. They were like, well, the future, if you want to do more. I was like, reach out. But I was like, please don't reach out in my brain. I was like, yeah, absolutely, let me know, you know. And normally, like I said, no, you know, what do you call unedited content. But I was like, you know what? I'm happy to give you the content. You can edit it. You know, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. Anyway, but that's a disaster. But first thing I did was literally when this was done, I was like, on Amazon, or sorry, on B&H or whatever, I was like, okay, time code devices. Never again will I ever film without time code, because that could have been 1 second fix.
Right.
But I was relying at that time on the software and the pluralize and all that crap that existed, but it didn't work on that one. Anyway, so I'm saying we've all made disastrous things.
Absolutely.
But learn from it. The main thing is to, I think, just learn from it, right? And then, like I said, I've never had a syncing issues ever again, because I always now use time code. Always, because I'm like, I cannot have that happen again, you know. And plus, funny thing is, I don't edit anymore, so I don't even know who would matter.
Right.
But regardless, you know, and that was the solution, and I solved it and never had that issue. But, you know, so I think we've all had, you know, situations.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, another one I had was, it was another wedding that I was shooting, and the client prior, he told me to shoot everything in 4K. And, you know, wedding went great, got some good shots, solid wedding, right? And I think I was, I had someone else with me, and we got some good footage. And then I go to look at the footage, and I realized everything was shot in 1080. Oh man, it was awful.
And the good thing is AI upres is a thing nowadays. But but still, that would be not make me happy.
Yeah, so I you know, I sent them the footage anyway, and
oh, you didn't try to upres it?
No, I sent it anyway.
I appreciate your integrity.
Oh,
that's good.
Man, it was rough, but again,
I mean,
like
it is
you said,
what it is. Yeah,
you know, learning experience. Yeah. You know, and
was he mad or did he understand?
Oh, of course, of course, yeah, because it wasn't the couple I was working with. It was someone else's client, and so of course he was definitely frustrated.
Yeah.
We still covered everything, but the fact that I wasn't in 4K, that was the
talk about a mistake that now I'm remembering. Oh my goodness, I can't believe the time I sent you to do shoots. So I think I was going to Vegas or whatever, and I asked you to go film something for me, and I completely forgot, and that's on me. Because I asked you, hey, what camera do you have? You're like, because you know our other B-roll for was FX3 or whatever, and you were like, and again, that's not what you said, but that's what my brain wanted to hear. You said I've got an A7S3, and I was like, oh, perfect, that's gonna match. So, you know. Anyway, I said, sure, Doron, go get this B-roll for me. I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm busy. And I come back and I'm like, the footage doesn't match. And then I remember, I was like, you said A7 III, not A7 S3. And my brain just added the S there. And the freaking, thank goodness, again, I wasn't editing. But Julie, who's editing the footage, she's like, I can't move this color. It doesn't, because, you know, it's not 10-bit. That's the only difference. So it's not like A7 III is bad. It just does, it's not 10-bit. So you can't adjust the colors that much. She's like, I do white balance, the color shit. I'm like, what is happening? And then I look at the camera. I'm like, oh. And then I knew it wasn't your fault, because I'm like, I remember hearing A7S3, but he said A7 III. But obviously we made it work. We just had to do a lot of manual, you know, I think what we ended up doing was, and it was just a shot or two, so it wasn't like that much.
Mhm.
But we ended up having to layer it and do it in sections
It's a
because
lot.
it's
Yeah.
not 10-bit, so
Yeah.
you can't just manipulate the whole image. And same thing, I'm like always want 10-bit, but I didn't know A7 III didn't do 10-bit. I didn't even know it was A7 III. Like I said, I was so busy. I'm like, I'm going to Vegas. Hey, can you do this? All right, perfect. Come back. I'm like, I took your footage, gave it to the editor. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. And then they're like, why would this footage change colors on us? I'm like,
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
Anyway,
Jeez.
but that was a fun experience, and I was like, I need to listen more. I'm asking somebody, what
Man.
camera do you have?
Now I feel bad.
No, but that's not you. That was on me. Like that's what I'm saying. That wasn't at all anything you did wrong. But I'm saying is my brain automatically
right.
added an S in there because that's what I assumed for some reason it was. And anyway, that was a fun time. Thank goodness it was one shot.
Jeez,
Otherwise,
man. I couldn't imagine. Oh my
editing
goodness.
that, yeah, because we were also trying to match with the other cameras.
Of course.
That's the whole thing. Because if you're just using the same camera, then it doesn't matter because it's all gonna match. I had talk about stories of
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I had a buddy who shot a wedding. It was his first wedding, and he was like, he shot a wedding. He had no experience, and he charged a decent amount of money. And then obviously he came home, and same thing. I think whatever camera he had only shot in like 8-bit, and so he has now here a really nice camera, FS5, whatever. And then the other thing wouldn't match, and then he's like, I guess he tried while to edit to fix the colors, and he couldn't. So he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, don't you have a colorist?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you please see if we can fix it?" And I sent it to my buddy, and he's like, no." He's like, "I could try and do some good stuff to it, like to maybe make it mesh." But it's like, the problem with 8-bit is like it's kind of what you get, and especially if you start to do even a little bit too much, it's gonna start banding. So that was a fun thing, and it was like, here's the FS5 Mark II, whatever it was, the other one. Oh, you can do whatever. You can up, because 10-bit cinema camera, you can manipulate everything, and then here goes whatever the other one was. I don't remember now. Some Sony,
Right.
But point is, it had like no
Jeez.
manipulation because it's 8-bit, and I was like, even a professional colorist is like, I don't know what I can do. I mean, we made it work. Poor girl, because we don't want the bride to not be happy.
Exactly.
So, but there was very limited of what we could do. I
man.
felt even bad charging my friend. I'm like, man, I just already feel bad for you. I mean, you made decent money because weddings, but still, first wedding, and now the colors don't freaking match. I mean, but things that you don't think about, and these are the reasons. See why people are like, how can we charge more money, right? Why is the shoot not $200, but $3,000 or whatever? And I think that's what it is. You're being paid to make sure the footage doesn't get deleted, to make sure the shoot was right, and the higher you charge, the more they're expecting you to. And not that saying there won't be one rare example of things just absolutely go wrong, but I think that's why we're paid right? To make sure all the things that are going to go wrong hopefully won't go wrong, and it's the reliability why people are willing to pay more. Because for a bride, think about it. I mean, I'm thinking, again, I don't do weddings. Like, can you imagine going to a bride and saying, "I lost all your wedding footage"? Oh my goodness, that would not go well.
Yeah,
because it's not like let's not. But I'm just saying, because it's not like they're gonna go get married again. I mean, hopefully not. But even you know what I mean.
Man.
Yeah, so,
yeah, definitely.
Wow. Any other crazy stories you can think of?
No, man. I think those two things that I brought up, this happened this past year. So,
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Both at different times, but yeah. So let's hope this new year, starting a new year off right.
Especially with 10 weddings and 10 to 15 weddings you want to do this year. You don't want to. You don't want to be messing with that.
Yeah,
but see, awful. I think as long as you learn, the biggest thing is, look, everyone's gonna make mistakes. We're human. I had, like I said, I think I've told this story, but I had somebody mess with my cameras, like on set, like DP. But you know what I mean, like and not ask. But point is, I used to have a very rarely, not anymore. But on my FX6s, we had a button to burn in the phantom light if needed.
Okay.
Always off. Never had that issue. I've owned the Sony platform for a couple of years now. And obviously I leave for 5 minutes, come back, because and all of Sony too. I mean, all it shows is M. So if you're burning in the LUT, that's all it shows, and the M goes away obviously if you're not. And you know, the guy who was the DP fixed his cameras. And I was in charge of the two FX6s and on the lighting and the sound and everything else. So I did everything. We walked away to get some snacks. We came back. He's like, "Oh, I already, I moved the cameras a little bit, but they're all set." And I was like, "Okay, we hit record. I'm listening to the audio. Shoot's done. Go home. And the footage is copied, done, right?" And then my friend, who's the director, he calls like, "Hey, the color, like I see color in this footage, and it's supposed to be log." I'm like,
Oh,
what?
no.
I'm like, he's like, doesn't make sense. I was like, yeah, I know for a fact it was an S-Log 3, because I don't record in color. So anyway, I go back in and I'm like, I see color too.
Oh, no.
Now I'm like, what happened? And obviously there's been many shoots since then, so obviously the camera is fixed. But I come to find out and I don't know if it was sabotage or not. I don't think it was. Accidentally, somebody pressed the button, and he did it on both cameras.
Oh, no.
But where he burned in the LUT. And that's why I was like, the first thing I did was go and remove that button. I was like, I don't care. Somebody wants to burn in the LUT, now you have to go deep dive into the menus. But things like that happen. The good thing was he burned in the phantom LUT, which is the phantom neutral LUT, which is what most of the time we used for conversion.
Right.
So it didn't ruin the footage that much. It was still 10-bit, it was only the phantom LUT. So it could be, still color graded because we were going to have a colorist on that shoot.
Nice.
Point I'm trying to get to is don't let anyone touch your cameras, especially if they don't know any of the shortcuts and buttons like that.
Geez.
And yeah, that was a fun experience.
How's that been for you, by the way? Having, you have two FX6s now?
Yes, I have two FX6s,
Nice.
two FX3s, two FX30s. That's the current camera. Yeah, got rid of all the expensive cameras. Don't have the V Raptors anymore. Don't have the Alexa. Just sticking to Sony and then renting the Alexas as needed is
Nice.
the current formula. Obviously, we'll rent red, but nobody's asking for them, at least from me anymore. Please call me for a red shoot. We will do it, obviously. I know enough people, Komodos and V Raptors, that we can rent them.
Right,
but no,
right.
that's all the demand I'm getting. That's all I shot. In 2024, it was all Sony FX6 and FX3 to be most likely. 30 only comes out for like event shoots. And then the other one was Alexas and Alexa Minis, Mini and Mini LFs. That's literally what I at least shot in 2024. I'm camera agnostic. I'll shoot on whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I currently have. And obviously, you saw the van, the new thing for this year,
nice,
right?
man.
Yeah, finally got all the gear. I've had the funny enough, like I said, a lot of people are like, you must have put so much money into gear. I'm like, no, I already had the gear. I did have to buy the carts and the van, which was not cheap,
Right.
but the rest just was already in there. I just had to load it up, and thank goodness it went away. Plus, I had to have a couple of storage units. I'll save money over there too. So it's actually not a bad experience, to think about it. What do you think of that?
The van?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's like every filmmaker's dream. That thing is awesome. I would love to have one of those. No, I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to what 2025 has to bring for you and your company, and especially with, having a van. Those are big things. That's a big move. So.
Yeah, funny enough, like I said, I'm already trying to just replicate what I had. So a couple of years ago, I had the trailer set up and I loved it, but got rid of it. Harder to maneuver around downtown and stuff like that, and smaller cities and things like that. Miami, good luck with the trailer. So yeah, it was just a couple of years in the making. I'm so glad it finally happened. But at the same time, I think, funny enough, you say that. All I'm like is if I can just do what I did in 2024, I'd be happy. 2024 was an incredible year for my business.
That's awesome, man.
And obviously, minus the last 2 months building all this and the van and the crap, that was a little bit of a nightmare. But no, I'm just happy. To be honest, it's just that I just want to do what we did in 2024. Obviously, better would be nicer, but it's not needed. If I can just, and I think this is more efficiency gain. I know, like I said, in all it changes for me is like we were talking before we started the podcast, is just the time to, at this point, like I said, I'm saving just minutes. I'm trying to shave minutes of taking things out, because you've shot like an interview with me, right?
Yeah.
The difference is instead of bag, now it's already on the cart, right?
Exactly.
So, is it essential? No. But since I do so many of these, might as well, every minute adds up. The less at a time adds up, and as I'm only getting older, less being more efficient and is better. Plus, now that my biggest goal of this year is to collaborate with people more. Now that the van is ready and my setup time isn't long, might as well go be on other people's set,
That's awesome.
help
man.
other people out since we have it.
Yeah.
Might as well go do. I'm already doing it. I have a buddy, which I don't typically do, like movies. So I'm about to help a buddy of mine film a short film. And normally I wouldn't. He's like, "Hey, do you want to DP this?" Normally in the past I would have been like, "No," but now I'm like, "Hey, I have the van." You know what I mean? He's gonna let me have some creative control, right?
That's cool.
And I'm like, sure, and so it's already opening new creative horizons. I don't think it's gonna add to like the money aspect of it.
Of course.
I mean, I hope so, but I don't think so. But I think it will definitely help streamline things, be able to let me be on more sets without sacrificing family time. Because all those prep days now can become extra shoot days.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I still can maintain, that the balance of family life relationship. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I was excited to show it to you because you hadn't seen it. It's been
I was seeing it in the chats, and I was like, "Oh man, he's got a new van. He's got a new house, too.
Yeah.
Oh shoot."
Yeah, that old news now almost, But yeah, no, I'm excited to share it. Funny enough, only the people who've been on the podcast have seen it. I'm excited to. We're shooting a video in a week or two, which gonna ask you if you're free. Come on, help us out.
Oh, I'm down.
Yeah.
You
So,
always know
but
I'm
yeah,
down.
we're gonna make just for fun. I mean, a video about it. And then share it. But so yeah, that's the goal. And we'll see how it turns out.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. So that's
great.
exciting. All right, Doron. So what else, man? What's been going on in life?
Yeah, oh shoot. Let's see here. Well, 2025, right? New year,
Mm-hmm.
new things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really, I just really want to be more intentional about video this year. I feel like I'll have a lot more free time. You were talking about time, time with your family, but I think, after finishing school, I feel like, there will be a lot more time on my hands to be able to dive deeper into video. And I know that's been a big conversation between us two, and I've leaned on you a lot about a lot of things in relation to that. But
which, by the way, I appreciate you trusting me. To because I don't know. I haven't never tried to exert myself as an authority or anything. Look, this is what I did. I'm happy to share because it worked. Right, finally clicked in. I'm like, why wouldn't I tell people? Look, this is what I did when it finally worked.
Right.
So I've been always happy to start, but I'm never like, I'm the authority. Listen to me because I don't know everything, and this is just one way of doing it. I've already had like I mentioned earlier, so many people telling about different ways to get to the hypothetical 6-figure plus number that people are looking for. And so yeah, I really appreciate it, and I feel honored in a way that you felt that I could provide any value to you.
Yeah, man. And I hope like you doing this will only, add to other people's lives as well, with whoever sees it,
Exactly. And it's going to help me too, because I get to hit up with so many coffee requests and all that. I'm like, look, now I'm going to be able to be like, I hate self-promotion stuff, but I'm like, going to be like, just go listen to this. It's exactly what I'm going to tell you anyway. Might as well just listen for free.
Right.
And also be able to be more productive and be on more set. Because anyway, I don't want to repeat myself, but yeah, that's the goal this year. I'm going to be more on set, create more. So anyway, going back to what you were saying. So I feel honored is what I was saying. This, you considered me any kind of resource.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. I think you're a good person. I think, what you have going on here is huge. And, it's great. It's a great, community that we have here in Orlando.
Yeah, and everyone knows everyone. I've told everyone when I was like, "Oh, Doron's coming," and they were like, "Oh yeah, I've been on this shoot with him, and now I've been on this shoot with him."
Awesome.
So it's not like, and I know you a little bit discount yourself in this podcast, like, "Oh, it's a side thing," but you do enough shoots because everyone I know has been in some set or the other with you. So you are very active. I mean, not as active, I'm sure, when you fully get into it, but you are still very active. You're still out there shooting and creating content, which is what I was going to ask you. So how do you find? Do you have any fun comparisons? Because you've been on so many shoots with other people that I work with. Like I know Manuel, you've shot something with, then you've shot with Adam. You shot with me. Any differences, or are we all doing similar stuff, or any? I don't know. I don't know what from your perspective, having worked with other people that I have worked with separately, do you see any differences or contrasts or
Hmm.
style differences?
In terms of like the
Anything.
shoot or
Just tool, style, just hanging
Hmm.
out. I don't know. Trying to start controversy.
No,
Yeah.
man, I can't do
Tell
that.
me who's better.
Oh,
No,
I
I'm
can't
just
do
joking.
that. No,
No,
it's
no,
been
no.
it's honestly been a pleasure to
Okay,
work with
don't
all
give
you
us
guys.
political answer. That's not allowed here.
It's been awesome.
No, I'm not trying to do it that way. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
no,
how was
definitely.
the set different? Because everyone is different, obviously.
Yeah, I think so. So I think with Emmanuel, the last one that I shot with him, it was a while ago. But I think he was just trying to do. I think he
Like
was
an
trying to
ad,
collect.
yeah.
Yeah, like an ad. He was trying to collaborate with different creators from
Mhm.
that group.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was for I think we were making an ad for a motorcycle, right?
Mm.
It was very fun, right?
Yeah.
Like we were just doing it for fun, and we were able to light everything, and it came out pretty good.
Mhm.
I thought it was, and it was just good to work with someone new because I had
Yeah.
never worked with them
Okay.
before. Which is why I was down to work with them to begin with.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel was a cool guy.
Yeah, I think it was him and Gio as well.
Gio,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Gio.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gio was there. But yeah, I mean that was cool. Again, it was unpaid. It was just out of our own free time.
Mhm.
Versus like with you, I've done a couple paid gigs with you. And I mean we've already talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Interviews and
Mhm.
different event shoots as well.
Yeah.
And then with Adam, I've done quite a few shoots with him. Doing more. I think we've done quite a few med spas actually.
Oh, really?
And it's been a little mix of like interview.
What's with med spine video? I literally have my camera out on a rental with another friend.
Really?
He's about to bring that back after the podcast, and he's shooting a med spa. So, that's maybe a market to target. A med spa. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was basically just some interviews.
Mhm.
I think we've done a couple testimonials too. So
Yeah.
some of their clients came in. We had the same interview set up, and then we also did some B-roll of
Mhm.
them actually doing like a procedure or whatever they had planned for that day.
Yeah.
Super.
I wonder pre-production would be nice. I'd be like, let me show up, let me test the services before I can shoot them.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, no,
Right. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good shoot.
Yeah.
Adam, he's killing it.
Yeah.
Like he's very organized in his shoots, very professional, and I love the way that he handles his shoots. But yeah, med spas. That's a good gig, man.
Yeah, now that I think
really
about it, I
good
wasn't
gig.
even thinking. See, I'm already like my wheels
Yeah.
are turning. That seems great. But no, that's I think what's incredible about filmmaking, right? Is just collaborating with different people and learning from their styles. And I'm sure you're developing your own style, learning for all these people that you're collaborating with until you form your style. How to
Exactly.
interact with. I'm pretty sure that's very important to the type of gigs you're doing right now. Important. How do you interact with brides? Right, how to get them to see your vision or whatever that is, right? Do you see? And then
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's always something to take from those that you work with, and I mean that in a sense of like what they do. There's some things that you can emulate in your own business and what you do, and that's why I find benefit in collaboration. Working with people like you, Adam, Emmanuel, even if it's for free. You're always going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
That's going to benefit you, even if it's not paid work.
Yeah.
And so, that's why.
I hate that. I know you've done like I think at least one of those for me, and I'm like, I don't know. It feels like taking advantage of someone. That's why I like to pay people something. Cause I'm like,
of course.
Because at least to me, and again, it may just be again in my head. I'm just like, I don't. If you come for free, then I feel like I owe you something. But versus if I pay you, then it's like, I mean, I'm still happy for people to come and learn.
Right.
But at least I have felt that way personally, which is why I know you've offered a few. Like, I'll come for. I'm like, you know what? Let me pay you. But I think you did initially. That's how we started, right? I think you did do a shoot with me at Disney or something that was unpaid, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that was fun shoot.
That was a fun shoot.
Do you remember that? Any of it?
I do. Yeah, we were. It was what was
some
the
kind of
again?
event?
Yeah. It was some event, and I was running your what was it? The Canon. You're running Canon at that time.
R5C, yeah,
The
that time,
R5C.
yeah, you were running
That's
an
what it was. Yeah,
R5C
yeah,
and a gimbal. Oh my goodness, that was
yeah.
a
Yeah,
long
man.
time ago.
Yeah. The battery life on that thing
Yeah,
is terrible.
terrible, terrible. Yeah,
But
never going back to that. Again, not bad. Well, actually, let me not comment on it. I don't even think. I was about to say not bad image, but then I was like, I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
Such an opposite thing. So funny. Now, I mean, we're going on a tangent.
yeah.
But I wanted to add those. I had 4 C70s. Then I
Mhm.
realized C70s were a little too much on gimbal for most people. Because remember, I'm not operating it. I want people to get tired. So I sold 2 of the C70s and got 2 of the R5Cs. And I was like, oh, that'd be a perfect combo, AB, and then C and D gimbal cameras. Dude, the amount of problems I had with that camera, which again, it was great. I liked the hybrid nature of it, that you could go to the cinema line. It had all the cinema stuff. But then the limitations, the battery life issues, and then the weight wasn't that less that I thought it would be.
Mhm.
So I wasn't, and the operators weren't happy. I don't know if you remember, even if you liked it or not. Probably not. Which is why they got rid of very fast.
Yeah, I like Sony, man.
Yeah.
Image quality
Yeah.
is decent. But man, the battery
Not
life
as good
was
as
just,
C70 though. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
the
camera,
battery
yeah.
life was just. I think I had to change that thing during that time that we were there. I think I had to change the battery like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which sounds very good for that camera. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, no.
But yeah, the shoot was good. I would love to do more of those.
Yeah.
Of course, I feel like that's
I love
another
event
fun
shoots.
gig.
Man, yeah. Plus, Disney. It was a Disney resort, so they're always nice places. Exactly. It was one of those rare instances where somebody was working because it was like, I think what do you call like one of those partner events for me.
Yeah,
And so it's very rare for me to bring on people for free. So I was a little hesitant because again, and that's more in me, not you. I was like, I don't want him to feel like I'm taking, but you obviously volunteer. We're like, no, I want to do it, and obviously you killed it. You did great, and I think you had Hamza with you, who's really good too.
He's a good guy.
Too bad he went to New York.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in a way, I was like, what am I doing? But then on the other side, when you were working, I was like, oh, that's awesome. He's getting good content, and hopefully, I hired you a few times after that, so you got some money.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I
Yeah.
think that was the first shoot that the first event shoot like that I've ever shot before.
Okay.
To be a part of.
Which
So
that's high pressure to go to Disney and start shooting events. You'd never having done that.
It was great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in that room you were hanging out with like all the big wigs of business in Florida. Because it was like a business networking event, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So
then
that's
at the very
crazy.
end, we were able to do, do some little snippets of little mini interviews.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. Now that we're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that was an incredible fun night.
Yeah,
And that's how we kind of started this working relationship. So
Exactly.
you never know,
Never know, man.
where it starts and where it goes and where it ends up. But anyway, and that also reminds me of like you said, the horrible time of the R5Cs. Man, getting rid of them was tough. They were brand new. I pre-ordered them, and we only used them a little bit. And then trying to get rid of them, oh my goodness, nobody wanted it. And I'm like, this camera just came out, and I had to make some efforts to get rid of them, which is crazy.
Jeez.
You would think people want Canon cameras. And opposite of C70, by the way, I love the C70 image. So it was surprising to me how good this one camera is from the same brand, minus the hinge issues. That's the only thing negative on the C70. Anyway, and then the R5Cs, which are terrible nightmare. But hey, I've moved to Sony cam. That kind of finally
Welcome
was
to the
like
dark side,
yeah,
man.
I know. And people were, and plus a lot of the agencies I worked with, we were already renting, sometimes Sony cameras. So they were already like asking for a lot of FX6 and FX3 anyway. So yeah, I finally was like, you know what? F this. I mean, I don't care, let me just, cause whatever. It just was a big cost, to be real. I'm not Canon fan or Sony fanboy or whatever. So I was just like, this is going to be huge to get rid of all the lens lineup. I had all the EF and all of the RF lenses. And at that point, like I said, it was 2 R5Cs and 2 C70s. And now I have to sell all of that and now acquire everything Sony again, all the GM lenses. And yeah, that was not fun. But again, they paid for themselves. What's crazy is within the month of acquiring them, they paid for themselves.
That's
I was
awesome.
everywhere, and funny enough, all shoots were like using all the cameras. There were always multicams, And I was like, this is crazy. So the demand is so high. Obviously, I was doing my own gigs anyway. But then I was able to do client work, and then all these agencies they started flooding me with work.
That's
As soon as I was
awesome,
like, yeah, we have these, and they're available, like to go any minute, and they were like, oh, here's an interview, here's this, here's that, and I'm like, that's crazy, but that's good for business, right? So that's awesome, man. Well, I wanted to thank you
Yep.
for coming. As we wrap this up, anything else you want to talk about? Any other fun stories? Anything you want to ask me? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how much time do we have, man?
I mean, we have as much time as you
Yeah.
want, but I mean, it's almost time to wrap up. But yeah, if you have anything, please.
Yeah.
This is your opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're gonna say to the audience, ask me, tell us any story.
Jeez, man. No, I think I think if anybody's in a similar situation as myself with juggling school and a job and video as well, I think it's definitely possible. Obviously, everyone has their own path, but it's definitely doable. So
Yeah, and you're doing it with nursing. Most people may not be in school that's that hard, right?
Yeah, if not even harder, but it's definitely possible. It's just a matter of what your intentions are and acknowledging those intentions and then acting through.
Yeah.
And
what I like about you is that you're not just doing video as a hobby.
Right.
You have paid clients. You're getting paid to go shoot these weddings or commercial or whatever work you're doing. So this is legit. Like, you can go make a very healthy living. Like you said, this year's planned 10 to 15 weddings. That's 50 to 70, and that's low end of the budget that you were trying to aim for, 5K. So that's going to be 50 to 75K of side money. Right. So it can definitely be done. And you just have to be intentional about it, right?
Definitely, man. I think that's the big thing. Just if you have the goals, if you have the vision, take the risk, right, and do it. Yeah, if there is anything that to be risky with, I know I talked at the very beginning about being secure. Just be risky on your intentions.
And I love how people can see the contrast and pick their own choice. To be real, what you're doing is very safe, right? It's a safe choice. Nursing is a very safe job, and obviously filmmaking is a good money maker, but it's not as safe. So you're having both. Is very secure. But versus me, when I did this, I had a kid, and on top of that, I had a very good, well-paying job, and I let go of everything, and I go, okay, now I'm going to just do this full-time business, which, who knows, how this is going to go. Plus, there's no security in this at all. 1 month you could have so much work, next month you have no work or whatever. So it was such a huge risk. Plus, I was pouring every money I have into this in the initial investment. So it's a complete opposite. I'm saying is there was all risk. It was like it's gonna work or it's not gonna work, but it was all in. There was no backup plan, because once I went in, I was like, no, we're going in, and I was just recruiting everyone that I knew who could help. Like, hey, you're good. You have a Grammy, right? Can you do audio for me? Oh, you have camera operation skills? Sure. And then I even had friends. I was like, oh, you don't know how to do anything? Good. Here's a camera. You can do BTS, because I don't care if they screw up, right? But I was including everyone in there. I was like, no, this is gonna be huge. And here I am, like in my brain going, this doesn't work out. Then But what I'm saying is, and there could be a balanced approach too. I think just people have to carve out their own journey, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm saying there's nothing wrong with either or, because you're making a good living. Doing what you're doing and still be able to maintain, be able to still do your passion of video. And here I am going all in and still be able to do this thing of video. And I think anyone listening, you just have to be intentional about it.
Yep.
And carve out a path. Obviously, it's one thing to be risky, but reckless. Another thing to be reckless. Please don't be reckless.
Man.
And plus that's how I am. I'm obsessive, so I just went all in. Doesn't mean that was the right decision. I mean, now it was. Now to think back, but doesn't mean it'll work for everyone. So I also like your strategy of safe. Plus, it's working. So why change it?
Man.
And I'm so glad you did it, and can't wait to know a nurse. That'd be so cool. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to see you, which is funny
know,
in this
right?
profession. I'm like, I hope I don't have to see you, but you know, it's at least good to know someone who's doing this.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate you for coming and sharing your
Appreciate you
insights.
having me, man.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
been
Before
awesome.
we go, do you want to shout out people? Where are you more active? Your Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Tell people where they can come follow you.
Yeah. So my website is caddyfilms.com. That's CADDI films.com. And then on my social media, I primarily use Instagram. It's at Caddy Films. And then another goal of mine is to start using YouTube more this year. So same thing. You can find me Caddy Films on YouTube.
What do you want to do on YouTube this year?
Right now, honestly, I just want to use that as a way to just make mini short films.
Okay.
So,
passion projects.
Yeah, man. Just very short, like mini short films. So anywhere between like 2 to 5 minutes, something like that. So, see where it takes me. You know, just get in, be intentional and be consistent on YouTube, because I've seen a lot of consistent people on there and they've actually had a nice return. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. As long as you're consistent about it. And again, that's just anything, right? We talked for 2 hours about it. Be consistent, be intentional, and you'll find success in anything as long as, you know, you give it your all. And I can't wait to see all that. I'm subscribed to you, so I can't wait to see whatever content you make.
That's awesome, man.
And I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to collaborating. You know, we've collaborated every year since we met, which was, I mean, only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to, you know, make projects this year again. So I will still be reaching out to you.
Likewise.
If something comes up,
Likewise.
you know, I would love to have you on my set again. I mean, forever. As long as you're willing to come. I mean, you're welcome, man. All right.
Anytime.
Thank you, Doron.
Definitely.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.